In the fading light of a September evening, the town of Blackthorn, nestled deep in the rolling hills of West Virginia, seemed to hold its breath. The air was heavy with the scent of wood smoke and wet leaves, and the distant hum of crickets underscored the quiet that blanketed the streets. Blackthorn was a place forgotten by time, its clapboard houses and single gas station a testament to a simpler era, where folks knew each other's secrets but kept them close. For 17-year-old Lila Morrow, it was a cage she longed to escape, a town too small for her dreams of city lights and art galleries. But on this night, her dreams would collide with something far darker. Lila lived with her Aunt Margaret in a weathered farmhouse on the outskirts of town, where the fields gave way to a dense tangle of woods known as the Hollow. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was 9, leaving her in the care of Margaret, a stern woman who ran the local bakery and believed in hard work over sentiment. The farmhouse was a labyrinth of creaking stairs and faded wallpaper, its windows rattling with every gust of wind. Lila spent her evenings sketching in her attic bedroom, her pencil capturing the shapes of the trees that loomed outside, their branches like fingers reaching for the sky. Margaret was at a church social that evening, leaving Lila alone with a stack of homework and a thermos of coffee. She was used to solitude, even preferred it, her sketchbook a better companion than most of her classmates. Blackthorn High was a small school, and Lila, with her quiet demeanor and thrift store clothes, was an outsider among the cliques. Her only friend was Nate, a lanky 18-year-old who worked at the gas station and dreamed of fixing up his dad's old Mustang to leave town for good. They'd made a pact to escape together after graduation, a promise that kept Lila grounded. By 8 p.m., the sky had darkened to a bruised purple, and Lila was sprawled on the attic floor, sketching a gnarled oak from memory. The radio played softly, a staticky country song weaving through the air. She was halfway through shading the tree's bark when a sharper thud echoed from downstairs. Her pencil froze. The farmhouse was old, prone to settling noises, but this was different. Heavy, deliberate, like something had struck the front door. Lila set her sketchbook down and crept to the attic stairs, her bare feet silent on the worn wood. The house was still, the radio's twang the only sound. She reached the living room, where the front door stood solid, its brass knob gleaming faintly in the lamplight. She checked the lock, bolted tight, and peered through the peephole. The porch was empty, the swing swaying gently in the breeze. She exhaled, chalking it up to a fallen branch, and turned back toward the stairs. Then it came again. 3 heavy thuds, shaking the door in its frame. Lila's heart lurched. She grabbed her phone from the coffee table and texted Nate. "Something's banging on the door. Freaked out. Can you come over?" His reply buzzed back. "Be there in 10. Lock everything." Lila checked every window, drawing the curtains tight, her hands trembling as she moved through the house. The kitchen's back door was locked, but the window above the sink was unlatched, a sliver of cool air seeping in. She slammed it shut, twisting the lock, and backed away, her eyes darting to the shadows beyond the glass. The radio crackled, the song cutting out, replaced by a low hum that made her skin prickle. A new sound broke the silence, a soft, rhythmic scratching, like nails dragging across wood, coming from the living room window. Lila's breath hitched. She grabbed a kitchen knife from the block, its weight cold and reassuring in her hand, and edged toward the living room. The scratching grew louder, more insistent, as if something was testing the window's strength She didn't want to look, but she had to. She pulled the curtain aside just an inch and froze. A figure stood outside, shrouded in the dusk. It was a woman, her face obscured by a hood, her hands pressed against the glass. Her fingers were long and pale, the nails jagged and caked with dirt, scratching slowly, deliberately. Lila stumbled back, the knife slipping in a sweaty grip. The woman didn't move, didn't speak, but Lila felt her gaze, heavy and unyielding, like a weight pressing on her chest. She ran to the attic, locking the door behind her, and dialed 911. The operator's voice was calm, asking for her address, but Lila's words came out in a rush. "There's someone outside scratching at the window. Please, send someone now." "Stay where you are, miss," the operator said. "Lock the doors, stay away from windows. Police are on their way. ETA 15 minutes. 15 minutes was an eternity. Lila crouched by the attic window, peering through a crack in the blinds. The woman was gone. The yard empty, except for the swaying grass. But the scratching hadn't stopped. It was at the attic window now, faint but unmistakable, like claws on glass. Lila's heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. She clutched the knife, her eyes scanning the room for anything she could use to barricade the door. The attic was cluttered with boxes, old furniture, and Margaret's sewing machine, but nothing seemed sturdy enough. Her phone buzzed. "Nate! Here! Where are you?" Lila texted back. "Attic. She's outside. Be careful." She heard the rumble of Nate's Mustang in the driveway, the headlights cutting through the dark. The scratching stopped, replaced by a low, guttural hum, like a voice trying to form words. Lila pressed herself against the wall, the knife trembling in her hand as footsteps crunched on the gravel below. Nate's voice called out, "Lila! You okay?" She didn't answer, afraid to make a sound. The hum grew louder, closer, until it seemed to come from just outside the attic door. Lila's blood ran cold. The woman was inside. She didn't know how, but she felt it. The air in the house had changed, grown thick and oppressive, like a storm about to break. The attic door rattled, the knob twisting slowly. Lila stifled a scream, pressing her hand over her mouth. The knife felt useless now, a child's toy against whatever was on the other side. The rattling stopped, replaced by a soft knock. 3 gentle taps, almost polite. Then a voice, low and rasping, like leaves skittering across pavement. "Lila, open the door." She didn't move, didn't breathe. The voice came again, closer now, as if the woman's lips were pressed against the wood. "I see you, Lila. I know you're there." Downstairs, Nate pounded on the front door, shouting her name. The woman's humming resumed, fading as if she were moving away, down the stairs. Lila waited, counting her breaths, until she heard Nate's voice inside the house. "Lila, where are you?" She unlocked the attic door and ran downstairs, nearly colliding with Nate in the living room. His face was pale, his eyes wide. "There's no one out there," he said, gripping a crowbar. But the back door was wide open. "I swear I locked it when I came in." The police arrived minutes later, their flashlights sweeping the property. They found no footprints, no signs of forced entry, just a faint trail of dirt leading from the back door to the attic stairs. The officers took Lila's statement, their expressions a mix of concern and doubt. "Could have been a prank," one said. "Kids around here get bored. We'll patrol tonight, make sure no one's lurking." Margaret got home an hour later, her face drawn as Lila recounted the night. She checked the house, her hands shaking as she tested the locks. "I should have been here," she muttered, pulling Lila into a rare hug. Nate stayed over, sleeping on the couch, his crowbar within reach. The next day, Blackthorn buzzed with rumors. Kids at school whispered about the Hollow Woman, a figure from local legend who wandered the woods, her face hidden, her voice a siren's call. Lila brushed it off as gossip, but the fear lingered, a knot in her stomach that wouldn't loosen. She started noticing small things. A window left unlatched, a sketchbook open to a page she didn't remember drawing, a crude figure of a hooded woman scratched into the paper. Nate suggested they investigate. "If someone's messing with you, we need to know who," he said. They started at the library, digging through old records for anything about the Hollow. Lila found a faded article from 1978 about a woman named Esther Varn, a recluse who lived in the woods after her husband died in a logging accident. She'd been accused of stealing from farms, leaving strange markings on trees, circles with slashes, like eyes watching the town. The article ended abruptly, saying Esther had disappeared after a fire swept through the hollow, her cabin reduced to ash. Lila's dreams grew darker, filled with the sound of scratching and a hooded figure standing at the edge of the woods. One night, she woke to find a small, carved stone on her windowsill, etched with a circle and a slash. Her scream brought Margaret running, and this time her aunt didn't dismiss it. She called the police, who took the stone as evidence but found no fingerprints, no clues. The town's unease grew. Hunters reported seeing a figure in the woods, always at dusk, moving silently among the trees. A farmer found his barn door, marked with the same circle and slash symbol, his chickens gone. Lila and Nate decided to search the hollow themselves, armed with flashlights and Margaret's old hunting knife. They waited until twilight, when the woods were at their quietest, and followed a narrow trail deep into the trees. Half a mile in, they found it, a clearing with a circle of stones, each marked with the same symbol. In the center was a pile of bones, bleached white, some animal, some too large to be sure. Lila's stomach churned as she spotted a tattered cloth, half buried in the dirt, stained with something dark. Nate pulled it free. A piece of a hood, frayed and smelling of smoke. "We need to go," Lila whispered. But before they could move, a low hum filled the air, the same guttural sound from that night. The trees seemed to close in, their shadows twisting in the fading light. Nate grabbed her hand and they ran, branches snapping at their faces, the hum chasing them through the woods. They didn't stop until they reached the farmhouse, where Margaret was waiting, her face pale. "You shouldn't have gone out there," she said, her voice sharp. She confessed what she'd never told Lila. Her own mother, Lila's grandmother, had known Esther Varn, had feared her, said she'd made a pact with something in the woods, something that gave her power but took her soul. Margaret had thought it was just a story, but now she wasn't sure. Winter came, and the incident stopped. The police found nothing in the hollow, no trace of the clearing Lila and Nate described. But Lila couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She kept the hunting knife under her pillow, checked the locks obsessively, and stopped sketching, afraid of what her pencils might conjure. In spring, as the snow melted, a hiker found a body in the hollow. A woman, her face unrecognizable, her clothes tattered, a stone with a circle and slash clutched in her hand. The coroner said she'd been dead for weeks, maybe months, but Lila knew better. She saw the woman's face in her dreams, heard her hum in the wind. Blackthorn never spoke of Esther Varn again. But Lila carried the weight of that night, knowing some secrets don't stay buried in the hollow.